Good morning, students. Today we will be studying a poem which focuses on the theme of social injustice and the responsibility of every individual towards it. This poem is known as An Elementary School Classroom in a Slum, and the poet is Stephen Spender. This poem focuses on this theme of social injustice and inequalities. The poet is presenting the pathetic and miserable picture of the elementary classroom in a slum, where the children have got pale and lifeless faces. They are like unwanted and uncared in the society. These children do not have the opportunities that is available to a lot of people that we know. In fact, we ourselves are not able to understand their conditions unless and until we see how they live. So I'm going to show you a picture of a classroom in a slum area where these children are studying. As you can see, this is not the kind of classroom in which regular students are able to go and take their classes. It is one of those classrooms where it is very untidy and there is no place to sit. The walls and the areas of the place are rather dirty. Many of the children, as you can see in this picture, are studying under a bridge also, where their blackboard is actually the wall of perhaps another bridge, or you can see this, in this picture you see the children sitting under the metro bridge and they are receiving their education. These are their conditions. Their living conditions are equally bad. If you will see that they come from slum areas. Now, what is the life in a slum? How do they live here? This is the living conditions that they live in. The houses are dirty. There is no place. It's not hygienic. Perhaps in one room, the entire family is living, which does not give them space even to pursue a proper education. Do they have access to good health? I don't think so. These children do not even have access to good health. They are weak. They are undernourished. Many of them have already developed certain health problems when they are small. As you can see, the children are weak, they are pale, they are not clean. All these situations are there primarily because they have not been able to get proper access to these things, which is actually their right. You see them, they are sad. They would like to go and enjoy their lives. And children are all equally, they have the right to go out and live a good life, and they have the right to go and enjoy. However, this education, this kind of opportunities are denied to them. They have little dreams, but look at them. They are undernourished. They probably don't even get a proper meal in a day. And as they're growing up, this is the right, this is what they deserve. They deserve to have healthy food. They deserve to be properly educated, to live in clean surroundings, to be healthy, to have the right things that they would like to do. If you see children in public schools or in private schools, they're healthy, they're fit, they have the opportunity to go, and it's a different environment. So obviously they're going to grow up with a different kind of confidence. Unfortunately, these children do not have access to it. They are living in slums. On the contrary, they are their lives start in darkness and they end in darkness. Their poverty has destroyed their vision as they spend their whole time in foggy areas. I'm going to read out the first stanza of the poem and then I'm going to explain it to you. The poet starts by saying that these children are like rootless weeds. So I'm going to read the first stanza to you. How they fight the battle of life, unarmed and ill-equipped. They do not have that opportunity. These children are seen as rootless weeds. So the entire poem goes around to paint a very grim picture of their lives and how they are denied these opportunities, something which every child deserves to have. All children deserve proper education. They deserve good, clean health. They deserve to be living in a clean environment. All these things are their rights. However, it is not so with these children. They are kept away from these things, which is obviously a very sad thing. So the poet starts with this first stanza. I read it out for you. And he starts by saying that these children are totally unlike gusty waves. What are gusty waves? We know gusty waves to be full of energy. We see them to be full of life. But these children, do they have access to these things? Unfortunately, no. There is no such thing for them. So, as we start reading this poem, you can see this on your screen here. Far, far from gusty waves, these children's faces, like rootless weeds, their hair torn round their pallor. So it says they are far, far. Now this word far is stressed. Please read it silently. They are rootless weeds. What are rootless weeds? Rootless weeds are unwanted plants which grow around a healthy plant and take away the energy. Similarly, these children are like that. They're unwanted in society. If you see these children, they're not even properly dressed. The rest of the children, when they go to school, they have proper school uniforms. These children are probably wearing something that was given to them by a richer person where the frock was not required anymore. And so it's given away. So they just wear hand-me-downs. So let us come back to this poem. They are far from gusty waves, these children's faces, like rootless weeds, the hair torn round their pallor. So their hair is also untidy, they're not neatly dressed, they don't have clean uniforms, and he gives us examples of these children. So you have the tall girl with her weighed down head, which means there's a girl who's tall, but she's weighed down. Weighed down means heavy. Perhaps it is symbolic of the fact that she is weighed down with responsibility. Then we see examples of who? We have the paper-seeming boy with rat eyes. Now, they're children who are so thin that if you see them, they look like they're thin as paper, which is an exaggeration, but obviously it just goes on to highlight the undernourished status of this child. Then you have the stunted, unlucky heir of twisted bones. So there's a child, perhaps who has inherited some sort of genetic disease from his parents, and he is reading his lesson. Sitting over there, a father's gnarled disease, his lesson from his desk. So you see these children, they are already burdened with responsibilities, with illnesses, with undernourishment, not having access to a healthy lifestyle, perhaps not even a proper meal, coming to this school. It is quite evident. We come to know that these children are obviously not going to be able to perform as well as a child who is given proper nutrition and proper nourishment at this time. So you see these children, the stunted, unlucky heir of twisted bones, reciting a father's gnarled disease. His lesson from his desk. So he's sitting at his desk and trying to make an effort to study. However, you see that at the back of the dim class, now obviously when the child is studying, when children are studying, the classrooms have to be properly lit. However, this is a dim class. That means there's perhaps not even enough light in this classroom. There is one unnoted, sweet and young child. So there is this little boy. Nobody is paying attention to him. He's very sweet and he's very young. His eyes live in a dream of squirrel's game in tree room other than this. So now there is this child we see at the end of the classroom whom nobody is really paying attention to. This child, perhaps this little boy, somebody like him, is sitting there, his eyes sparkle with hope. You can see that there is hope for a better future and he has dreams to live a better life. So somebody like this perhaps is looking for a better future, but at this point in this classroom, it is not looking very good for him. And so we see these children there, sitting there and trying to build a life for themselves, which we already see that they do not have the necessary, how shall I say, equipment to fight it. Now the next stanza we come to, it says, on sour cream wall, donations, Shakespeare's head, cloudless at dawn, civilized dome riding all cities, bells, flowery, Tyrolese valley, open-handed map, awarding the world its worth. As you can see, this is the slum that I have described to you, where these children are living. As you can see the way, this is an aerial view of a slum, and it shows us what are their living conditions. Now, in somewhere in this slum is the classroom, which has got donations on its walls. What are these donations? They are photographs. What are these photographs? Let us see these photographs. The poet says, you have donations over there. What are these donations? Of Shakespeare. Shakespeare's photograph is there. Shakespeare was a very well-known literary writer. He wrote some very famous plays. You may have heard of them. Hamlet, Othello, and The Merchant of Venice. These were all written by Shakespeare. He was world famous. But to be able to read Shakespeare, these children need to have those necessary skills, perhaps even the level of learning, which is obviously not provided to them. So Shakespeare's head, Shakespeare's portrait is meaningless for these children. What are the other things that they see here? Let us have a look at those things as well. It shows us cloudless at dawn, the belt, flowers, Tyrolese valley. Now let us see this beautiful Tyrolese valley. This is somewhere in the Alps and it's beautiful. It's really gorgeous, this place. Do you think these children living in the slum would have access or perhaps the kind of money that is required to go and visit these places? It seems very unlikely that they will be able to visit these places because of their condition. And some of the photographs that are gifted to them only tempt them. They provide them with enough motivation to go and see these places, but they cannot reach these places because they do not have access to these things. And that is very sad. The poet feels sorry for them. He says they have the open-handed map awarding the world its world. Now if you look at the map of the world, this is the map that we have here. In this map you can see various boundaries of different countries. And they have drawn up these various boundaries as per the political situations and political decisions that have been taken. So these children are also living somewhere in this world, but they have no control, they have no access, they have no voice. And that is what the writer, the poet is trying to say, that these children are deprived of the opportunities to see these beautiful, beautiful places, lovely places of architecture, lovely places of nature, which they can visit. Why? Because they are stuck in a slum and they will not have access. Perhaps many of them are sitting in places like this. This is not a classroom. This is something which they're just trying to make by. It's like a makeshift school for them. Perhaps it is a person's house in which they're educated. So these children do not even have a decent classroom. But the rich people in the world are living the best life possible. A life of luxury, a life of entertainment, perhaps receiving very good education in school. So this is the image of a public school where children go. And if you see the children in a slum, they do not have access to these places. They do not even have uniform. This is the kind of place where they are sitting. They also have hopes. They also have dreams. They also have aspirations. But these aspirations will remain unfulfilled because this is the kind of slum that they are living in. They will never be able to get out of it. The poet is very saddened by these circumstances. And he says, these are the places these are the photographs that are put in their classroom. But these children have no understanding of it because they've never seen it. And yet for these children, these windows, not this map, their world. So the photograph that you see, these are the kind of houses that these children are living in. This is the narrow street, perhaps, in which they used to go from one place to another. Where their futures painted with a fog, a narrow street sealed in with a lead sky, far, far from rivers, capes, and stars of words. So obviously, what does he say? For these children, these windows, not this map, their world. So the lovely map that they were shown has no relevance for them. All these beautiful things that are being shown to them, these lovely places that are shown to them, these places they are not going to get to visit. They will never get to see these places because they do not have access to these lovely places, these valleys. They are living in this classroom, which is just one little small room, perhaps a very untidy place where they will sit and they will study. And this is the kind of place where they are going to live and they are going to die. So it is obviously going to be an impossible dream for them to fulfill. So the writer says, this is, future is painted with a fog. Their entire future at this point is unsure. It does not give them the opportunity perhaps to have access to any of these things, where all their future is painted with a fog. And here it is, looking at all these lovely pictures that we have seen, these children will remain deprived of it. They will not have access to these places. What happens then? Is showing Shakespeare to them the right thing to do? Is it a good thing to show them the map? No. The poet says it is wrong because Shakespeare is wicked. The map is a bad example. This line here that we see, surely Shakespeare is wicked, the map a bad example, with ships and sun and love tempting them to steal. What is going to happen here? When they see that the world is beautiful and it has lovely things to offer, and see how huge the world is, we can go anywhere. But what is going to happen to them? They're not going to get out of it with ships and sun and love. So they will see all these beautiful things. And what will happen? They know that they will never get it in a proper way. So what will happen? They will perhaps resort to a life of crime. They will perhaps resort to stealing, to something wrong to achieve these ends. Because it is always assumed that people who are living in slums are going to be thieves, they are going to be dishonest, and their lives are also like this. So they say, for lives that slyly turn in their cramped holes. They live in small little houses where there is no space. And their future is from fog to endless night. So these children do not have access to anything. I repeat, and I've repeated it several times. Their future is what? Fog means unsurety. To endless night, again, it's permanent darkness. There is no hope for these children. On their slag heap, these children, bare skins, peep through by bones and spectacles of steel with mended glasses. As I mentioned before, these children are undernourished. I've shown you photographs of the same. And these children are living. Some of them even have weak eyesight, but they do not even have access to proper education. They do not have access to proper medical health, to medical care. And so similarly, just as you have bottle bits on stones, which is like you mend them and you wear a pair of glasses, these children also live like that. All of their time and space are foggy slums. So blot their map with slums as big as doom. So what happens? They are all the time living in this slum. Everything that you see here is just unsurety, and it's a fog. There is no hope for their future. These children are burdened with responsibility at a very young age. They are not going to have access to education. They will perhaps be in that situation forever and ever, and their poverty will not let them get out. Some of them want to live well, but here they are without this access, they are here without these opportunities. They have the desire to live. They have the desire, they want to do something, but that is not happening. And that is the saddest part. So far, the poet in all these stanzas has been very pessimistic. उनका negative tone है poet का. And he keeps saying कि इनके लिए वो access नहीं है education. इनके लिए वो रास्ता नहीं है. There's no hope. And then he, in the last stanza, he tells people to take responsibility. Who are these people? There is a condition for them. How will they be able to receive this proper education? Is there hope? He wonders. And he says, unless. There is hope for them if and only if somebody is willing to make that change. Who are those people? Those people are volunteers, as you can see in this picture. They go and work in slums. And who are these people? Unless governor, inspector, visitor. So, the poet is appealing to people to come forward. चाहते हैं कि लोग आगे बढ़े और उनकी मदद करें. कोई ना कोई आए और जब तक कोई ना कोई उसकी रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी नहीं लेगा, कुछ नहीं हो सकता. Who are these people? Governor. Governor is the government. Then you have inspector, education. Inspectors, people who are responsible for the education in our country. Then the visitors. This map becomes their window, and these windows that shut upon their lives like catacombs break open till they break the down. Now he says, unless and until people do something for them, then all these barriers can be broken. They can have access to proper education. They can have the right path that will open out for them. break open till they break the town, and show the children to green fields and make their world run azure on golden sand. Now what does he say? The poet envisions a hope for them. He waits for hope. He wants a change in their lives. He wants these children, these very children who are now in these conditions, to have proper access. He says, and this can be done if and only if somebody makes that effort. And here somebody, if they make the effort, then these very children will have access to education. Their knowledge will increase. They will have access to education. They will be able to improve their lives. They will make their world run azure on golden sand and let their tongues run naked into books. So their desire for knowledge can be fulfilled. These children, these very children who are living in slums, will be able to fulfill their desire for knowledge, and their world will be a world full of energy, full of life. So far the imagery that you've read about or you've seen in this poem is dull, darkness and fog. But then it changes, because the writer brings forth this energy, and he says these children, from the world of all these problems, they will be coming out and they will be receiving education. They will have the kind of life that they deserve to have. They will perhaps be able to exhibit their intelligence. They will be able to gain knowledge. They will be able to learn. And their tongue will run naked into books, the white and the green leaves open. History theirs, whose language is the sun. That means they will make history. They will create history by going forth and learning and perhaps even gaining. They will make a positive change. And whoever supports this change, whoever works towards it, will be able to they will be able to fulfill their dreams of gaining knowledge, of learning, and change history of the earth, where nobody will be deprived, everybody will be full of that knowledge that everyone deserves to have. And all children deserve knowledge. So here we are reading this poem and understand how the burden of poverty and disease crushes these children physically. They are denied basic amenities, but they dream and hope for a better future. So the poet here was so anything else that was shown to them was meaningless so far. But if somebody here, as you see in this picture, is willing to take that responsibility, so now, as you may have read about this and heard about this poem, I will be giving you the notes later on. So please listen to this video, and I hope it has been helpful to you. Please let me know of any kind of questions that you have. We can address them later. So, thank you. I will be ending the class.